Good morning, students. Good Monday morning to you. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you've had a good weekend. As you can tell by how fast I'm talking, I'm wired and ready to go. You'll have a test next week. No cheering allowed. That'll be your last test of the year. And I'm sure there's cheering going on over that. As much as I would love for you seniors to take the final exam, I guess you're not going to. So, Tara, that'll leave you. We'll talk more about that in the future. And while I have Tara's attention, one of those rare moments, just kidding, Tara, but while I have your attention, I do know that you're going to be gone, I believe, Thursday and Friday for the soccer tournament. And so we are going to do a review sheet those 2 days. I'll give you more information as the week goes on. You are responsible to watch the YouTube videos, okay? If you have any problems with that, call me, email me. Just don't text me. I don't get texts on my phone. I'm still kind of old-fashioned that way. So call me or email me, but you will be responsible to watch the review sheet YouTube videos to help you, okay? Let's go over your quizzes. Mr. Harmon should have passed out a truckload of homework to you and also your quizzes. Now, I'm going to say this. Some of you didn't do very well on the Wednesday quiz where you just wrote down 3 formulas and 3 formulas. Love y'all. You know, shame on you. You knew exactly what would be on there. I'm leaving it at that, okay? I'm not going to, obviously I don't work on the embarrassment method. I'm not going to mention names. You know who you are. There were a couple 95s and a couple other grades. That's, look, you knew what was going to be on there, and you're fortunate. Those that got 95s are fortunate. I took 5 points off for the first miss, because on that quiz I would have been totally justified in not doing that like I usually do in a quiz. I usually take 5 points off for the first mistake. I went ahead and did that also on that quiz, but I would have been totally justified in taking 16 points off for every mistake, because you knew exactly what would be on that quiz. So if you want to make sure my math is right, every one that you missed was worth 16 points except the first one that you missed. The first one you missed was worth 5 points off. All the others were 16 points off. So do the math on that. Moving on. You should have your other quiz in front of you also. And your other quiz is what we're going to go over right now. So would you please get your quizzes out? I have a very short lesson planned for you today. Most of the class period will be going over the quizzes. I'm not there to watch. I'm not sure. I know this is Mr. Harmon's free period. I'm sure he has stuff to do. There's probably plenty of times he just lets you guys, he might even leave the room. I don't know. But if he or someone's in the room, please make sure they're not taking notes necessarily, but paying attention. I'm going over this quiz for you. I don't have to do this, but I want to do this so that your quizzes are not only a measurement where I can see how you're doing, it's also a chance for you to learn and see where you're weak and where you're strong, etc. So please pay attention, okay? All right, on number 1, here we go. Please get your quizzes out at this time. Have them on your desk. There's number 1. No one missed the decimal answer. All of you know how to type that into your calculator very well. I hope you would, so congratulations. But the radical stuff you were struggling with, I think everyone in the class did this for 72. All of you put 8 times 9 like this, and then you crossed off the 9 and put a 3 on the outside, and you're like, well, that's what you taught us to do. Yeah, I did. But I also told you to go further if you can, and I know another perfect square that goes into 8, 4 goes into 8, and 4 is a perfect square, so you should have gone another step and rewrote 8 as 4 times 2. Well, you know the square root of 4 is 2, so cross off a 4 and put a 2 on the outside. You multiply these two numbers, so 6 square root of 2. Another way to do it, see the 72 right here? You also could have done it faster. You could have wrote 36 times 2, because 36 is a perfect square, and 36 times 2 is 72. And then what is the square root of 36? Cross it off and put a 6 on the outside. 6 square root of 2. Either way, you get the same answer. And by the way, I'm actually doing a video with a couple of my children home, so if it gets a little loud, I'll pause the video and take care of it, but there could be a little bit of background noise. Okay, so there we go. All 4 of you missed this one. All 4 of you missed this one, so that's how you do it. If I go too fast, back up the video. Number 2, one person missed the decimal part. One person. I'm not going to embarrass you. You know who you are. Please take some notes. First of all, you multiply this radical times this radical. Now, if you'll do that correctly, 3 times 4, that's outside times the outside is 12. Everybody see where the 12 came from? 3 times 4. And then inside times the inside, 6 times 18, would be 108. So now if you'll take your calculator and type in 12 times the square root of 108, you will get 124.71. Now I can't be there for you to show you where your mistake is. One of you missed this. But if you don't mind identifying yourself and getting help from your friends, that's up to you. But either way, that's how you do that. You type into your calculator 12 square root of 108. Okay, now let's take our radical answer. All four of you missed this one too. And I think all four of you did the same thing. If I remember correctly, I think, let's see, you did, I think you said 9 times 12, I believe. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And you know the square root of 9 is 3, so cross off the 9 and put a 3 on the outside. And then multiply. You have 36 square root of 12. And there's nothing wrong with that. But look, you can break the 12 down again. 12 is the same thing as 4 times 3. So cross off the 4, put a 2 on the outside, and 2 times 36 is 72 square root of 3. Now, a faster way would have been to do this. A faster way would have been to say to yourself, okay, 36 goes into 108. 36 times 3. And then cross off the 36. The square root of 36 is 6. Put a 6 on the outside, multiply these two numbers together, and you get 72 square root of 3. Either way is fine, but you guys have got to learn to take the radicals as far as they can go. All right, number 3, there was one person that missed number 3. Would you please watch? One person missed number 3. Would you please watch? These are 45, 45, 90 triangles, so we know a leg equals a leg. The hypotenuse equals 2 times, no, that's incorrect. I apologize. It is leg times square root of 2, and the leg equals the hypotenuse divided by square root of 2. All right? I think I'm way off on this. Don't you just love it when you make mistakes? Hold on a second. Let me pull up the quiz here. I'm sorry. This is a Pythagorean Theorem problem. That's embarrassing. I'm sure Mr. Harmon's in the room listening to that. All right. All right, Pythagorean's Theorem. L squared plus L squared equals H squared. Well, one leg is 7, that's 7 squared. One leg is 8, that's 8 squared, equals hypotenuse squared. 7 times 7 is 49, 8 times 8 is 64. You're going to add those together and get 113. 113. Now take the square root of both sides, and if you do that correctly, you'll get 10.63 equals the hypotenuse. I think the person that missed this typed that into their calculator wrong. It's kind of funny. They did all the hard work and then made a mistake in the end. I guess it's not funny, is it? But anyways, moving on to number 4. Number 4, there was one person that missed this, so please pay attention. Now be careful. See, do you notice here I gave you a hypotenuse right here? I gave you a hypotenuse. You're missing a leg. And I think the person that missed this put both of these numbers in as legs, like 4 squared plus 9 squared, I think, if I'm going from memory here. So be careful here. I did not give you 2 legs. You have one leg is your unknown, so we'll just leave it L. Your other leg is 4, so 4 squared. Your hypotenuse is 9, so 9 squared. We now have L squared plus 16 equals 81. Now subtract 16 from both sides because you have a positive 16, so we're going to subtract 16 from both sides. And if you do that correctly, you would get 7165. 65. All right? And then take the square root of 65, and you will get 8.0622. Okay, so there's the leg, and that's how you do it. All right, one person missed that. Again, I go fast on purpose because you can always pause the video, but you can't always speed me up. All right, number 5, we had one person miss this. Excuse me for a second, please. Okay, I am back. Sorry about that. Number 5. Now we are into these here on your quiz, in your screen there. We're on these here now. It says 45, 45, 90 triangle. So we know that in a 45, 45, 90 triangle, the legs equal the legs. The hypotenuse equals leg times square root of 2, or at least you should have known this, and the leg equals the hypotenuse divided by square root of 2. Now you know why I made you memorize these. Okay, this is a leg, this is a leg, and this is your hypotenuse. All right. Well, we know if one leg is 3, look right here, a leg equals a leg. So if one leg is 3, the other leg is x, it's got to equal 3. And then the hypotenuse is your y. How do you find the hypotenuse? I'm going to circle it in red right here. leg times the square root of 2. So hypotenuse equals leg times square root of 2. And your leg is 3. So hypotenuse equals 3 square root of 2. Some of you were using Pythagorean Theorem. Some of you were like doing cartwheels. I mean, that's fine if you use Pythagorean Theorem, but look how much faster that is. Whatever your leg is, it's 3. You just pick it up and put it right here in front of the radical, and you're done. That's why we learned these. They're shortcuts, okay? They're fast. They're helpful, all right? But either way, that's how you do number 5. Number 6, we had one person miss number 6. And so let's see if I can't confuse you a little more. Number 6, here we go. It is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So, we don't know either leg. This is a leg, this is a leg, this is a hypotenuse. So how do you find the leg? Well, I've taught you to find the leg. You take the hypotenuse and you divide it by the square root of 2. So the hypotenuse is 5 square root of 2. Do you see that right here? There's your hypotenuse. Divided by square root of 2. These cancel, and your leg equals 5. Now, if one leg equals 5, then the other leg has to equal 5, because in a 45, 45, 90 triangle, both legs are congruent. All right? Okay, moving on to number 8, or number 7 again. Let's see. Moving on to number 7. Sorry about that. Number 7, we had 5 people miss it. That means Mr. Harmon missed it also. I'm kidding. 3 people missed number 7. 3 people. So here we go. We have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And what I taught you is that the hypotenuse is always twice the shorter leg. The longer leg equals square root of 3 times the shorter leg, and the shorter leg equals longer leg divided by square root of 3. So, sorry, I'm being distracted by kids who are yelling. Okay, I think they got it worked out. Someone beat someone up, so we're good. All right. Hypotenuse is twice the shorter leg. Longer leg is square root of 3 times the shorter leg, and shorter leg equals the longer leg divided by the square root of 3. All right. That's what you're supposed to memorize. That's why I gave you that quiz. Okay. Here's 60. Go straight across. This is your longer leg. Here's 30. Go straight across. This is your shorter leg. Y is your hip. It's your hypotenuse. So we're looking for the longer leg, X. Longer leg. Here it is. There's a formula. How do you find the longer leg? Well, to me it says square root of 3 times the shorter leg. Do we know the shorter leg? Yes, we do. It's 2. So how do you find the longer leg? Square root of 3 times the shorter leg. What's the shorter leg? 2. So it's just very simply 2 square root of 3. You're done. See the shorter leg? You put a 2 right there. So instead of writing square root of 3, 2, we simply write 2 square root of 3. Now, why is your hypotenuse? A lot of you use Pythagorean Theorem after you found one side, and that's fine. But why would you do that? The hypotenuse is twice the shorter leg. So go to the shorter leg. It's 2. Multiply it by 2. 4. So the hypotenuse is 4. Okay? Moving on to number 8. 3 of you missed number 8. 3 of you missed number 8, so I would encourage you to pay attention. Once again, we're using the exact same rules. Hypotenuse is twice the shorter leg. The shorter leg is the hypotenuse divided by square root of 3, and the longer leg is shorter leg times the square root of 3. Now, here we go. Here's 60, go straight across. This is your longer leg. Here's 30, go straight across. This is your shorter leg. Here's 90, go straight across. This is your hypotenuse. Now, we're missing, okay, they're giving us the longer leg. Longer leg. So I wouldn't try to find the hypotenuse first. That'd be pretty tough. I'm going to try to find the shorter leg first. Look right here, please, in black. Look right here. I'm going to circle it in black. How do you find the shorter leg? Come on, how do you find it? Hypotenuse divided by square root of 3. Hypotenuse divided by square root of 3. What is your hypotenuse? What are you going to put right here for the hypotenuse? Are you not going to put 8 square root of 3? Sure you are. 8 square root of 3. What happens to your square root of 3s? They cancel out, leaving you with 8. So the shorter leg, which is x, here's your shorter leg, it's x, is 8. Now how do you find y, your hypotenuse? Well, you tell me. What does this say, class? It says the hypotenuse is what? Twice the shorter leg. Twice the shorter leg. Well, if the shorter leg is 8 and I multiply that by 2, then the hypotenuse is 16. Excuse me again, please. Got a little sick over the weekend. I can't quite shake it. All right, number 9. Number 9, there was one person missed this. One person missed X and three people missed Y. So let's look at all these. Okay, 30, 60, 90 triangle. So again, exact same formulas. I'm not going to keep writing them up here, okay? We should know these. I made you memorize them. I gave you a quiz on them. Here's 60. Go straight across. This is your longer leg. Here's 30. Go straight across. That's your shorter leg. Here's 90. Go straight across. That's your hypotenuse. So it looks like to me I've given you the hypotenuse, and I want you to find the shorter and longer leg. Now, what do we know about the shorter leg? Is not the hypotenuse twice as big as the shorter leg? Sure it is. So if the hypotenuse is 10, go backwards. Cut that shorter leg in half. Your shorter leg has to be 5. Think about it. If your shorter leg is 5 and the hypotenuse has to be twice as big, if you take 5 and multiply it by 2, you get 10. Makes total sense, okay? Now we got to find the longer leg, and we're finished. So how do you find the longer leg? The longer leg is the shorter leg times the square root of 3. Well, you just found the shorter leg. It's X. It's 5. So just put a 5 right here. Put a 5 where it says shorter leg. So shorter leg is 5 square root of 3. So 5 square root of 3. Moving on to number, and that should not be there. Or is that it? That is it, I think. Let me go back a page here. That was number 9. Looking at my notes. Oh, I'm not sure why I didn't put number 10 in there. But my philosophy is if you're going to mess up, just mess up the whole class period. Be consistent. So one person missed number 10. That person's sitting there thinking, good, I don't have to listen to Mr. Hart. Sorry. Here's number 10. All right, so here we go. One person missed number 10. Please follow along and pay attention. Please take your education seriously. I tell my boys that during homeschool all the time. I have 2 boys that love to learn. I have 2 that don't. I tell the 2 all the time, hey, you've got gifts that your other brothers don't, but one area you got to learn to work on is love to learn, love to learn. So please love to learn, love to use your brain. Okay, so if you miss number 10, you know who you are. Please watch, okay? Using the tangent ratio, find the missing side labeled X. All right, we're going to use the tangent ratio. So tangent of an angle, we'll call it A for no reason. Tangent of angle A is, now remember, TOA, opposite over adjacent, TOA. All right, now let's take our pens, watch this. The only angle we know, not counting 90, the only angle we know is this angle here. So I'm going to put my pencil on it, and I'm going to go straight across. This is my opposite side. Here's 90, go straight across. This is your hypotenuse. So the only side left is X. That has to be your adjacent side. That has to be your adjacent side. There it is. Booyah, as I like to say. All right. Now, let's start plugging. It's a new word for plugging. Let's start plugging in numbers. Tangent of A. Now, what angle are we dealing with? 43. So I'm going to say tangent of 43 equals opposite over adjacent. 8 is your opposite, X is your adjacent. Now I'm running out of room, so give me a second here while I work my magic here. All right. Now there's your formula, okay? Now let's solve for X. What I taught you to do the day I taught you this was whatever the bottom of your fraction is, multiply both sides by that. So I'm going to multiply this side. What's the bottom of the fraction? Your denominator, X. I'm going to multiply this side by X, and I'm going to multiply this side by X. Now when I multiply this side by X, my X's cancel, leaving me with 8. When I multiply this side by X, I'm just left with X tangent of 43. X times the tangent of 43. Now if I'm trying to get X by itself, these 2 are dividing, or excuse me, these 2 are multiplying. The opposite of multiply is divide. So I'm going to divide one side by the tangent of 43. But if I divide one side by the tangent of 43, I got to divide the other side by the tangent of 43. These cancel out, and I'm left with X equals 8 over tangent of 43. Now, students, I don't have a calculator in front of me. I can't type in the tangent of 43 right here. But if you'll take whatever the tangent of 43 is, you get out some decimal, take 8 divided by that, the answer you will get out is 8 0.5791. Okay, so there's the rest of your quiz. You're welcome to keep your quizzes, burn them, frame them, throw darts at them, whatever you want to do. Okay, go ahead and gather yourself, get your notes ready. We're going to start class here in about 1 minute or less, so get ready to take some notes. I told you I have a very short lesson planned for today, and I do. I'm going to look at 2 problems. We're going to finish up lesson 10.5. And then give you some time for homework, okay? So please grab your notebooks. I'm kind of stalling here for a couple of seconds, giving you time to get your notebooks out. Put your quizzes away, all of your homework away. Not everybody turned in all their homework. That has got to stop, guys, okay? With 1 week left or with 1 year left, it doesn't matter. Please do your homework every night, okay? God's given you a great opportunity to have a great education at a great school. Please take advantage of it, okay? All right, that's enough for the stall tactics. Hopefully you have your notebooks out by now. So I want you to go ahead and copy down today's heading, please. We're going to look today at using sine and cosine to find sides of triangles. You know what word I forgot to write in that heading? Right triangle. So squeeze in the word right there. All right. So using sine and cosine to find sides of right triangles. All right. As you're copying these down, or copying this heading down, I'm going to throw a sentence at you. And you can continue to copy this heading down as you can kind of follow the red bouncing ball here. Remember how we use tangent to find missing sides of triangles? Question mark. Do you remember that? We did. In fact, actually, I'm just reading here from the screen. You can follow along. Actually, on the quiz you just took on Friday, you will see that you use tangent to find a missing side on number 10. Let's go back a couple pages here. Right there it is, number 10. Using the tangent ratio, find the missing side labeled x. And I wrote your formula here. And then we did this. And then we did all of that. Okay? Now, only one of you missed that problem, so I think you guys are doing pretty well with this. But back to this page. Remember how we use tangent to find missing sides of triangles? It was about a week ago. Well, actually, on the quiz you took on Friday, you'll see that we just did that on number 10. Now, if you're kind of smart and thinking like, well, if we know how to use tangent, why do we got to learn another way? Well, I'm glad you asked. Well, as you will see today, are you ready? You cannot always use tangent. I will show you why later in class. You cannot always use tangent to find a missing side of a right triangle. You can't always use tangent. It won't work. So when it doesn't work, you have to use sine or cosine. All right, let's continue on. That is the reason we will be using sine and cosine to find missing sides of triangles. What's the reason? Right here. You cannot always use tangent. Sometimes tangent doesn't work. How is that possible, Mr. Well, I will show you. I'm glad you asked. So here we go. And really none of these notes were necessary for you to write down. I just like you to see what I'm saying so it sinks into your brains, okay? We've used tangent before. We just had a problem on your quiz. Today you're going to see you can't always use tangent, so we're going to learn how to use sine and cosine. All right? So with that in mind, let's look at 2 problems. Would you please copy this first problem down into your notes? Please copy this problem into your notes. Okay, there's our right triangle. We're going to call this side here B as in boy. This will be A as in apple. And hypotenuse will be 7. Now, I want us to find these missing sides. Now, I wish we had a 45, 45, 90 triangle. It'd be easy, but we don't. Man, I wish we had a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Well, we don't. I wish I could use Pythagorean Theorem. You can only use Pythagorean Theorem when you know 2 sides. We only know 1 side. So we can't use any of those. So that's when I've taught you to use tangent. Okay? Now, actually, I'm not sure why I didn't put the angle in my notes. Here it is right here. 34. Please write that down. I apologize. 34 degrees. Now, okay, let's use tangent. Mr. Earhart's taught us how to use tangent. Here we go. Now, students, are you listening? Don't take notes on this. Just watch. Do not take notes. Just watch what happens. Okay, he taught us how to use tangent, so I'm going to circle this. This is my op side because I'm cool, so I call it op, and this is my hip side. And so this last side here is my adjacent side. And so ADD, that's good, Mike. There we go, Mr. Adjacent. Now, all right, so we're going to use tangent. We're going to say tangent of 34 degrees equals opposite over adjacent. So we're going to fill in opposite. Opposite is, it's A. Adjacent is, it's B. You have two unknowns. Students, if you have two unknowns, you cannot solve this equation. You have to know either the opposite or the adjacent side to use what? Let me say that again. You have to know either the opposite side or the adjacent side if you're going to use tangent to find the missing side. Well, Mr. Harrod, how will I know when I can use tangent and when I can't? Well, just try to use it. And you'll see when you can't, then you're going to have to use something else, okay? And that's what I wanted you to see, and that's why I told you not to take notes on it, because I don't want you to write down what you don't do. Well, sometimes I do because I want you to see stuff, but in this case, I just want you to write down what to do. So, tangent doesn't work. Tangent doesn't work. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to have to use sine or cosine. So, here we go. Everybody ready? Good. Here we go. Take your pencils, put it on 34 degrees. I've got my change colors here. Go straight across to A, and we're going to call that our opposite side. Here's 90. Go straight across. We're going to call this our hypotenuse. And then the other side is the only side left that must be our adjacent side. Now, it's up to you whether we use sine or cosine. I'm going to leave that up to you, okay? Let's start off with sine. Watch what happens when I use sine. Oh, should we pause and review? Remember, so, long O, so, ka, toa. SOHCAHTOA. Okay, if you need to write that down, write it down. SOHCAHTOA. So, the sine ratio is opposite over hypotenuse. The cosine ratio is adjacent over hypotenuse. And the tangent ratio is opposite over adjacent. So here we go. The sine of what angle are we dealing with? Well, it's the only angle we know besides the right angle, 34 degrees. So the sine of 34 equals what? Well, let's look. Here's your formula. Opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite over hypotenuse. So I come down here. Opposite. Well, that's A. Right? Here's opposite. Opposite is A. Hypotenuse, 7. Very cool. Now we're ready to roll. Now what did I teach you guys? Whenever you're solving these trig functions like this, or trig equations, whatever the bottom of this fraction is, you want to multiply both sides by that number. So I'm going to multiply the right side by 7 and the left side by 7. Now when I do that, these cancel over here, leave me with just A. Then over here I have 7 times the sine of 34. So A is all by itself. All that I have to do is type this right here into my calculator. Now don't forget, make sure you're in degree mode. I'm checking mine right now as I'm talking. Okay, I'm in degrees. Good. So make sure you're in degree mode. The sine of 34 is 0.5592. So I have 7 times 0.5592. That's the sine of 34. And then if you multiply those two together, you will get your answer, which is 3, excuse me please, which is 3.914. 3.914 equals A. So you found the length of this side right here is 3. I'm just going to put 3.9. 3.9. Now, shall we find B? Yeah, let's use Pythagorean theorem. You could. You know two sides now, 1, 2, but in your notes I don't want you to. I want you to use cosine now. I want you to practice using cosine. So here we go. Cosine of what angle? 34. Cosine of 34 equals, what does cosine equal? Right here. Adjacent over hypotenuse, A over H. Oops, wrong button. Still wrong button. All right. Still wrong button. All right. What does cosine of 34 equal? Adjacent over hypotenuse. Well, look up here. Your adjacent side is B, and your hypotenuse is still the same, 7. So now we're ready to solve. The bottom of the fraction is 7, so I'm going to multiply this side by 7. I'm going to multiply the other side by 7 also. Over here, your 7's cancel, leaving you with b. And over here, I simply have 7 times the cosine of 34. Now, what is the cosine of 34? Well, if you type into your calculator, you will see you get out 0.8290. 0.8290. And of course, times 7. Multiply those two together, and you should come up with 5.80. I'm going to put 5.8 is good enough. 5.8 equals b. So 5.8 would be the length of this side right here, 5.8. So now you're seeing that sometimes you can use tangent, and when you can, that's fine. But sometimes you can't use tangent. So if you can't, you're going to have to use sine or cosine to help you find the missing sides. Now I told you we'd be doing 2 problems. I'm going to keep my word. Let's do one more. I'm going to turn you loose on your homework, all right? And I'm going to throw some word problems at you tonight. Yeah. All right. Copy this in your notes, please. We have a right triangle. We're going to call one leg x, the other leg y, and our hypotenuse 12. Now, I want you to find the missing 2 sides of this right triangle. I would love to use the 45, 45, 90 shortcuts, but we don't have a 45, 45, 90. I would love to use my 30, 60, 90 shortcuts, and I could if I had a 30, 60, 90, but I don't. I would love to use Pythagorean Theorem, however, I don't know 2 sides of the triangle. If you don't know 2 sides, you can't use Pythagorean Theorem. So with that in mind, I'm going to have to use something else. Now in the past, we've tried tangent, but trust me. Oh, let's stop right now. You know I forgot? I apologize. I forgot to give you the angle. Let's put the angle right here, please. 65 degrees. Sorry about that. There we go. In the past, we've said, oh, we'll use tangent. Well, trust me, if you did tangent, you would get tangent of 65 equals y over x, and that's not going to help. You have to know at least one of these. So we can't use tangent, so we're going to have to use sine and cosine. No, I don't care which one you use first. It does not matter to me. That's not important. But we are going to have to use sine and cosine. So let's start off with sine. And we're going to say the sine. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I better right now take my pencil, put it on 65, go straight across. This is my opposite side. Here's my right angle, go straight across. This is my hypotenuse. So the only side left is this side over here. That has to be my adjacent side. All right, now back to what I was saying. The sine of what angle? 65 degrees equals what? Remember what sine equals? Opposite over hypotenuse. It's not a 0. All right, so sine of 65 equals what is opposite? Y. What is hypotenuse? 12. Now what I've taught you to do is whatever the bottom of the fraction is, in this case it's 12, you multiply both sides by that number. Now the reason you do that is so that these 12s here cancel, leaving you with just y. And over here we have 12 times the sine of 65. Now let's see what the sine of 65 is. Make sure you're in degree mode. You get 0.9063. So 0.9063 times 12. Don't forget your 12 times 12. If you multiply those two together, I'm going to put 10.88 is what I'm going to put. 10.88 equals y. So come up here to y. And the length of this side is 10.88. Now we have, excuse me please, we now have to find x. And so now we're going to use cosine. Cosine. Cosine of what angle? 65, the exact same angle. And how do we find cosine? Adjacent over hypotenuse. All right? So here we go. We're going to start off by saying the cosine of 65 degrees equals adjacent, which is x, over hypotenuse, which is 12. And now, what's the bottom of this fraction? Well, it's 12, so we're going to multiply the right side by 12, and we're going to multiply the left side by 12. And when we do that, here your 12s cancel, leaving you with just x. And here we would have 12 times the cosine of 65. Well, the cosine of 65 is 0.4226. 5.4226. And now 12 times that, multiply those two together, and you get 5.07. Excuse me. 5.07 equals x. So it's really not emotional. I'm just sick. All right, I'm going to pause this for a second. Okay, I'm back. Okay, I was not crying. I was just, my throat is very annoying right now. Okay, x equals 5.07, so I hope that I've not distracted you too much. 5.07 is your x, okay? So students, listen. You can't always use Pythagorean's theorem to find missing sides of a right triangle. You can't always use Pythagorean's theorem. You can't always use 30, 60, 90 triangle shortcuts. You cannot always use 45, 45, 90 shortcuts. And you cannot always use tangent, ratio. Sometimes you have to use sine and cosine, okay? All right. I hope you all have listened well. I do care about you. I try to help you, and I hope you're taking advantage of this, getting your work done, okay? All right, page 567, numbers 25 through 32. There are 2 word problems thrown in there. If you get stuck, here's the help video. It's a little different, so watch. A little different. It's bag, 10 point, no, dash. That's not right. 10 dash 5, and then look, part 2, and then homework, okay? So that's what you need to type into YouTube if you're going to get help on your homework. Berean Academy Geometry, space, 10-5, space, part, space, 2, space, homework, okay? And that will take care of you. Hope you have a great Monday. Seniors, less than 2 weeks away for graduation. Hang in there, guys, okay? And I'm really proud of y'all and hope everything's going well for you. We will see you or talk to you tomorrow.